Good evening, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Reality Podcast live. We're going to be taking your calls. Hopefully we get some great discussion tonight. No particular topic tonight. We're just going to be sort of generally, discussing the various sins within this industry. And trust me, a lot of them go back. And a lot of it we've already covered in our, series that we've been doing. So I'm going to try to find new stories or, give a different perspective on some of the stories we've already covered. Now, I'm going to start with, I'm going to grab my phone here and I'm going to see what's a hot topic that we could discuss here. I have been really interested in this whole thing going back now with, what was it here? Had it. Listen, oh yes, the whole Foley is pod controversy. Now, everything that is said on here is only an allegation. It's only my view. It's not, nobody's committing a crime here. Nobody's doing anything wrong. This is just my view on this industry. So, a lot of fans are very familiar with that, major modern industry journalism giant, Conrad Thompson, who's had various names, featured on his podcast conglomerate. And recently, he really did get a big name in Foley. And, I listened to a lot of the episodes. We've discussed it in a prior podcast. There was a lot of troubling discussion from Mick. A lot of very bizarre stories were shared that sort of made me feel like, it was like I'm hearing the facts of life from my aging uncle now. I mean, I very much did not appreciate that we were hearing such things as, how Mick discovered himself biologically, that he ended up hooking up with a woman, and the prophylactic that he had on him was expired. So instead of not indulging in that biological urge, he did it anyway without. And this was all just a big, laugh and giggle, and I think it was really troubling behavior expressed by Mick. For so long, I've always been interested. I mean, of course, I'm a fan now of Mick's groundbreaking work. But what I find very troubling is his recent behavior. And there was a lot of talent that had been coming out saying Foley is political in the back. One of the biggest, of course, was Stephen Richards now, who said that Foley was stomping up and down the backstage area in Orlando because he was not prominently featured on that Hardcore Justice pay-per-view poster. So now it seems that Conrad's latest cash cow, wants to only perform once a month, at least for now. We don't know if it's indefinitely, but if you go on that Foley is Pod a Spotify feed, you will see that all that has been uploaded recently is best of clips. And, what's so best of, talking about a biological enhancement, not mentioning the side effects and going into a rant and making all these vulgar metaphors and not even mentioning the side effects at all. I found that it was incredibly troubling. And it seems that I think it's true that Foley just doesn't have commitment right now. And, I thought that when he thought he was going to be involved with that major, modern industry journalism giant, it was going to be nothing but a gravy train. But when he discovered, he's going to really have to be going week to week now, with these episodes, I think that he got a little frightened by that because, he is aging. And, what really disturbed me was Conrad was picking favorites with Foley, saying, ha, Mick, you noticed my favorite show. But then you got a guy like JR who's been there almost from the beginning. And he's been doing week to week, no problem. He takes a break here and there. Next story I'm going to discuss. I'm just trying to get some viewers in here. A lot of fans have been really hot about this Chris Jericho situation. His career is definitely on the downside now. There's no question about that. I mean, can he still perform in the ring? Yes. But I think it's really concerning that on those Florida cards, we're essentially seeing week after week that he's prominently featured with these young dudes now who aren't really well established. There's no programs. There's nothing like that. And it just more or less seems a showcase to get in the ring with Jericho. I mean, it's a huge deal. If you are somebody that's involved in this industry, I'm sure, they're going to be calling the mother, saying, guess where I made it. I'm in a major program with Chris Jericho Irving, but he's still going over, and there's no program, there's no storyline here. I've said it for a while. I think Chris really needs to step back, and he needs to retire or become a manager or, another figure within this industry, because right now he's just sucking the life, virtually like a Dracula, like out of the younger talents. And personally, I don't think it's right. I think it's truly disturbing. He's still in that, good Lord, that Jericho Society. Which, I mean, even the fact he's in a faction that prominently features his entertainment stage name at the forefront, I mean, is really the most disturbing part about it. And I've said for so long, like, I'd love, they come out and they do a promo. Lights go off. We see Steve Borden Sting's character, in the rafters, kind of shaking his head. Jericho's looking up, kind of with the shocked look on his face, and that'll go on. That could go on a couple weeks, months. And then eventually, Sting comes down like he originally did, on that zip line, confronting the Jericho Society, pointing the bat and saying, I don't like what I've been seeing here, Chris, and, you're running around with all these younger dudes, this younger talent who have opportunity. Your time is over now in this industry. And I'm not going to let what happened in Atlanta happen again. So I'm going to essentially challenge you on that Orlando stage at a major pay-per-view event. I think that is something that is really needed right now in this industry. If people like that Steve Sting Borden character, or Jericho want to continue, they have to do a major money-making performance together. They can't just be floundering. We've seen it not long ago. Sting is taking jumps off ladders, like on free television, and I think it's really concerning. It's really concerning that AEW doesn't really mind just kind of throwing these guys out there, making them do things that would be more appropriate to be doing on a pay-per-view stage than just week to week. Looks like also we got CM Punk Phil Brooks back in the picture, which if you look back, you can see that we've done an investigation on that whole situation that transpired that led him out of Orlando, and all's forgiven and he's back in the picture. But what I seen was truly concerning. Recently I watched the match between CM Phil Brooks Punk and Samoa Joe. And it was celebrated, that they were doing this match again on free TV. And it had been in the making for some time. I'm not sure the details because that wasn't my era back then. But what I seen was one of the most concerning situations that I've ever seen on this stage. It was very clear that Phil CM Brooks was just not in shape, and that he seems to be having major issues. He was out of breath. He looked like he was, really struggling to put in a solid performance. And even Samoa Joe, when you're looking like you're struggling with your health on that stage more than Samoa Joe, there's very much issues there. And I've said it before, I really do truly hope that Orlando has supports, in the back for these guys, especially Joe. I'm not particularly talking about his weight, but I have made the point before that Samoa Joe at this stage of his career, of his performing career, is really resembling Rodney. And when I say that, of course, I'm talking about that majorly influential, Fatu background, entertainment and sumo legend Yokozuna. If you go on my Twitter page, I spoke about it openly, and I compare and contrasted the pictures of Joe at this stage of his career and the pictures of Rodney. And good Lord, it was like such a haunting comparison. So seeing both talents that are really, supposed to be celebrated, really struggling to get a grip on where they are at now at this stage in their career. It was truly troubling. And I don't know where that Orlando-based company is really going to go when it comes to moving forward, because a lot of their top the talent that's going to have them having fans booking hotels or booking flights are just not at peak stage shape. It's very clear. And I just found that a little concerning here. Another situation here, former New York talent Val Venus has been coming out recently. And, I'm a fan of Val back in his original era. And it's clear that he's also very much political. And he's saying a lot of things that I think are really concerning. And I actually said to him on Twitter, that, Val, back in your day, you once said that monumental line, "Hello, ladies." But, if you really wanted to come back to this industry and have a chance to, break new ground, be a part of this more modern era, you should be saying, "Hello, ladies and men." And well enough alone for everything he says on his page, he liked the comment. So could be possible that we see Morley, Sean, back in the ring. I think that would be great to see. Another tragic story, I guess. Here we are it's just being handed to me by someone in the office here. Teddy Hart arrested on multiple possession charges. Now that is just troubling. I've been such an outspoken, fan of Teddy for years. I was really hoping for the best for him. But it just looks like a possible career in Florida or a stint in New York just isn't going to be happening at this time. Unfortunately, here we are saying that. Let's see what we got here. We're looking at the court forms here. It doesn't say what he was charged with, but it's concerning. Because, as I said, I mean, when I seen Teddy in the ring, it was truly like seeing the spirit of so many of those legends we grew up with. And I think that was truly something needed up in Florida right now. But after that bombshell documentary, after the allegations, after the charges and the jail time, I sadly don't think we're going to do it. We have our first viewer here. I'm going to remind you that if you want to call in and ask a question, the link is below, and you can have a call into the show and discuss any topic that you want, because this is the reality. We're not talking Roman Reigns pinned this guy last night. We're talking the seriousness of this program. I guess he is not on the line anymore. But, yeah, a lot of fans just don't really see things, I guess, the way I do when it comes to this industry. So it's been harder to get that audience to interact with the live shows. Another story here. Another Fatu. So we have Zelia Fatu making his debut last night. And then the comments being made by Wrestling News here on Twitter that see you in the bloodline in a couple of years. And I'll tell you, nothing more than that statement. All it has me is incredibly troubled. Incredibly troubled. I mean, we don't need another Fatu coming up in this industry, taking the spot of another young dude who, may have come up, even harder. Like, there's still talent out there that haven't had a chance in New York or Orlando, that are still working in the school gyms, still jumping off the top of school gyms and the basketball hoops and risking their careers. But another Fatu happens to debut, and it's already almost assured that he's going to make it onto New York television. I think that's incredibly troubling. I think it really shows that there's a lot of favoritism, for that family. And as I said before, I really wonder how it all started. Because, I mean, you have all the talent that really did a lot to really get that major New York-based MSG company, on its first bit of ground. I mean, you look at The Rock's father and the business that the Maivia did, and even stars like Rikishi, who were never main event, but they left their mark on this industry. But it just seems now, anytime someone pops out another Fatu, it's almost guaranteed that, someone like a Triple H, Paul Levesque, is going to have to put the pen to paper. And I just can't really understand how it's been let go like this for so long. I'm just sort of giving a look at some of my stories that I posted here. Excuse me about the silence. Okay, another story here. I guess Jim Cornette is making allegations that Matt Hardy was recently drunk during a Twitter tirade. Now that's incredibly troubling because we've already know the sins of the brother, Jeff, and they've been well documented for a long time. And now it seems that the brother now, who has been working, pretty prominently up in Florida, is still having his issues with the bottle. And I actually seen a recent story, I think it was a YouTube video, actually, that was saying there were times where Jeff was like the least troubled one, and Matt was taking up the mantle of the brother who really had his issues. Now, these are all allegations, but I'm really starting to lose my interest in the boys. Men now. I mean, they got to be close to their 50s, and they're still acting, like they're 17, 18, 19, 20, with the car wrecks and the drunk driving and the drinking and it's just very troubling to see such influential names who just really did break so much ground, in this industry, come to this point where fans aren't even really essentially wanting to see them take that stage, because I always think of it, I think of the people who have lost, a friend or a loved one in a drunk driving incident who may be a fan of this industry. How could you look at somebody like Jeff or the Uso brothers the same after that? So I take it at that level of offense that I just don't think these men should be getting away with this behavior and being let back on this stage, regardless of how much money they're bringing in. And it was really troubling to see Jeff's most recent performances. You could tell, I think the age now is finally catching up with him. But I was always a big Hardy Boys fan. Even recently when they both debuted in the company, I was really willing to give them a chance. But no, after the recent behavior, now they're saying Matt's, off the rails again. I just don't know if I can support that behavior anymore. Another story here, breaking from the Ringside News, Kurt Angle talking about how his love life hasn't been the same than it is now. Now, we all know that Kurt has had very complicated situations romantically in his career. He was sampling a lot of thrills in his time in New York, and then when he went to TNA, he was very deep into the substance abuse. And we don't really know what's going on, but it says here, Angle is claiming that he's still able to wrestle in the bedroom. Good Lord. I think that's definitely troubling, because what troubles me is when we last seen him in New York, it was like he could barely move. And I guess, he's got the younger wife now. And, I think that's kind of troubling because, he might overexert himself and not be in a good situation with that behavior. I think he needs to slow things down. It's very concerning that he's putting that out to the public, because now we're going to be concerned. If he, especially if he's taking that Blue Chew crap, I think that trouble could arise, for Kurt. His wife could have him roll over dead, in that marital bed, and that is not how we want to remember Kurt. I think that's a truly troubling situation. I'm seeing Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan now, wants another match up in New York, and personally for me, I know I would love to see it. I would be incredibly hot for it. But a lot of fans still are very touchy about the subject of Terry, back in New York, especially after his past behavior. We heard the rumors that he was giving speeches to some of the younger talent, saying things like, you don't know when you're being filmed and you don't know what's going to be put out there. And I think it didn't really resonate with a lot of the younger talent who've been truly following Terry's troubled history within the past decade or so. We're going to share the stream here. We're trying to get some callers tonight. Love hearing from the fans. I think we got the desktop audio correct tonight. So we're really wanting to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What would you like to discuss? What I'm going to talk about now, until we see if any fans are going to join, is this new era star we have on now, Matt Riddle. Certainly, he's kind of lost a lot of what he had going for him in New York recently, but for a while there, he seemed someone that was really on the fast track, to being a major name up in New York. He was doing the tag performances with Randy Orton on that New York stage, which was a pretty monumental spot for someone to be in. But I just think his personal life has just taken its toll, on a lot of viewers who were very much of this era. We talked about before, guys like Undertaker have said, a lot of the talent in this day, they're more likely to be drinking their protein shakes and playing video games. But then here comes a man, who's out there sampling thrills, doing the fast, lifestyle. We've read the reports, that we've seen the text messages of his lifestyle, which includes woman swapping and drug abuse and watching as biological acts are being performed on his various women. And everybody sort of turned against him. And I think that's not necessarily, a negative thing, because it's been so long since we've had somebody in this industry who sort of played or lived that kind of lifestyle. And, I think it would be great for New York to, really go with it, really turn him into this sort of thrill chaser character, kind of have him, make it clear, I'm gonna sample your wife, I'm gonna live this lifestyle, and I'm also gonna perform at a top level here in New York. I think that's something that is truly needed up there right now. I'm just looking at some of these questions here that are coming in through the Twitter as we wait to see. All I'm seeing, feed after feed, that new Fatu. Well, we don't have any viewers tonight. I think I might just have to leave it there for tonight, because I had a bunch of topics I wanted to discuss, but it's very hot here today. But I just want to let the fans know that I'm back. I'm wanting to interact with the viewers and the callers. So I might just leave it there. Great to speak again on this industry. My stream is all set up now. My call-in is all set up. So I'm going to wish everybody a great night and enjoy this little sampling of what I'm working on now. I'm really wanting to do this live podcast idea. And if there's something that you'd like me to discuss,